Hello, Jen here with today's Tuesdays in the Attic video. I am using one of my Build-A-Page kits to go ahead and put this layout together. So I just showed you the measurements for today, which there's a few of them. So I had to go through my kits and pick out one of them that I thought would have enough papers or enough options to do all of those cuts that I have to do. Side note, Mel and Jackie, let me know if you guys had this aha moment already or if it's just me. But nowhere in the actual Freaky Fast formula instructions, that's the Freaky Fast formulas from the scrap room that we're following, nowhere in the very brief, very loose instructions that they give does it actually say that we have to use different patterns for all of the cuts. I don't think it does. I was kind of thinking after I finished this layout that I could probably have gotten all of the cuts for this week from this one piece of paper that you see me kind of playing around with right now. And I probably would have been a lot happier with the end result than I am currently. And I will explain that in a second. But I just had this aha moment, like, wait a second, why am I always thinking that all of these papers have to be completely unique patterns? I don't think they do. Let me know what you think about that. And Jackie and Mel, did you guys have that kind of thought process as well? Did I miss that in one of your videos where you already knew that and I'm just late to the party? But yeah, I definitely think you could make a layout and use just one piece of pattern paper and cut all of the pieces from that one paper and put a layout together. So just a little side note, something that I thought about. Of course, after this layout was completely put together, I probably would have liked this layout a lot better if there was less pattern, but it happened a little too late, so let me go on to explain while I'm continuing to make my cuts here. You can see that I've got a few pieces from that one Paige Evans paper. I'm using both sides of it, and then I'm using little pieces as well. So technically, for the first time since we started doing the Freaky Fast formulas, so 4 months, I decided to repeat 2 patterns. I don't know why. It never dawned on me before, but and so I'll go ahead and make my other cuts as well. But there you can see down at the bottom those 2 really little pieces that are 1 by 2 and 2.5 by 1 and 1 by 2. Those are those teeny tiny pieces. The long piece is 12 by 1.5. The largest piece is 8 by 4. The sort of medium square piece is 5 by 5. And then there's also a 2.5 by 10. Those are all of the cuts. But I went ahead and made them and tried to make them work with the papers that I had. I do have to go into a paper pad. You'll see me doing that right here, a Fancy Pants paper pad to get the piece of paper to back my cut file. And then I'll also go in and find the piece of paper to make that last cut because it didn't dawn on me to go ahead and cut it from the scraps of that floral paper. So my little aha moment came a little bit too late, but now that I know it, I can definitely apply it going forward. I don't think it's cheating. I don't think it's in the rules, so I'm going to do it if that's what needs to happen. But I had one of these adventures. I'm going to use the word adventure because I'm literally cutting out a cut file that says adventure. I had one of these little adventures with this layout where I just kept telling myself, as I usually do, that maybe I don't really love what's happening right now, but I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep working away at it, move things around, play around with things a little bit, and eventually everything will fall into place as it usually does, and the end result will be fantastic. And that doesn't happen with this layout. Full transparency, it doesn't always happen for me, and I don't always fight it. Sometimes, I think I have said this before, I don't think this is a popular opinion. I think this is an unpopular opinion, but sometimes I can see that the layout is just not going how I envisioned, and I just can't make things work. And I'm not always sure right in that moment when I'm creating it, I'm not always sure what it is that I'm not liking about it. So I just keep going. I just keep creating. I keep putting things down, and maybe something will eventually click, and that's great. But if it doesn't, I usually just finish the layout. Even if I walk away, because that can help sometimes too. You know, kind of put things together, then you walk away, come back the next day or come back in an hour or whatever it is, and something has kind of clicked and you can make it work. That's always great when that happens. But even if that doesn't happen, I usually still finish the layout. I know there's a lot of people who will put the layout together, and then if they don't like it, they'll take it all apart and they'll redo it. I even know people who go back and look at their old layouts from when they first started and redo those layouts using current products that they like, or now that they kind of know what their style is a little bit more, they'll go back and remake things. I don't do that. For me, looking at my layouts isn't just about looking at the story and remembering the story that I documented. I feel like every layout has a more personal story that only I would know. And that's the story of putting it together, the creation of that layout. And I really, truly believe that there is value in that process. And so I don't want to take layouts apart. I don't judge people for doing that. I think that's absolutely fantastic. So if that's your way of doing things, please, by all means, do it. I definitely think that that's fantastic. I'm just saying, for me personally, I like to be able to look back, and sometimes it's totally fine for me to look back and go, whoa, what was I thinking with that layout? And then I do remember the things that I was thinking, the, experiment that I tried with a new medium, or papers that just did not go together, but I thought at the time that they looked great, or whatever it could be. I enjoy being able to look back on those more personal stories that are just mine and a little bit yours now, because I do share them with you guys. But, they're not something that everybody looking at my albums is going to know. And so I get to be the one to go back and remember those and treasure the lessons I've learned through the creative process. So long, spiel just to say, I could tell right away that this was not going how I wanted it to go. And you guys might even know me well enough now that you can tell by how much I'm kind of fussing and moving things around and being indecisive that this is not going how I envisioned. And I don't know if it's because there are 3 pictures. That tends to throw me off. There are 3 4x6 pictures. So I guess 2 of them are landscape, 1 is portrait, but there's 3 of them. That's throwing me off. I'm using a cut file, which we all know Jen does not use cut files as much as she should. I absolutely love every layout that I do with a cut file, but for some reason, it just feels like such a monumental task to pull out my silhouette, which is super duper old, make sure all the software is up to date, and then cut files. I just don't do it very often. And so when I do, I tend to love what I do, but it's definitely not a comfort zone for me. So I've got multiple photos, multiple pattern papers. I've got this cut file. I couldn't make things work. And then I am mixing collections, which is something that is definitely in my wheelhouse and something that I'm definitely comfortable with. But I felt like this one piece of paper that I'm fussing with right here did not match the rest of it. And even though it is literally the back of that floral paper, I don't think they match very well. I don't know why. I was really struggling with that piece. So that is my story, my little bit of a, sad story. But to add to this, I also was just trying to work with all of the elements that I had put into my kit because we're playing bingo and I wanted to make sure to check off some of the bingo card sections, squares, whatever you want to call them. And so I feel like maybe there was too much going on and my brain was just trying to fit too many things together. Sometimes I mash different series together and different collections, and I can, take a Wild Whisper Design Team layout and a Tuesdays in the Attic and a Christmas in, layout, mash them all together and they work out beautifully. And sometimes I try to mash things together and they just don't seem to click the way I hoped they would. So I think that's the case with this one. But as you can see, I just keep trudging along. I keep working along. When I get things into a spot where I feel like, okay, I don't hate this, so I'll commit, then I just stick them down. So I kind of layered up all of those cuts of paper into some horizontal stripes or layers across the page. The photos go vertically down one side of the page, which gave me some room for the cut file. I do love how that turned out. I think it looks really good, and I love the blue paper that I chose for that. I put the little 49 and Market embellishments up at the top and kind of made a cute little cluster there. I actually really love how that looks, even though I feel like it just still doesn't quite match that one piece of paper. That's okay. I like how the cluster looks. I am adding some stickers from that Maggie Holmes sticker sheet that I threw in there that had swans on it, because this is the layout where I'm also going to put some flamingos. That's right, flamingos. So even though we're at a duck pond, we are not anywhere near flamingos. I couldn't find any duck embellishments, so I'm throwing in some swans, which we definitely have in the pond that we were at back when I lived in Ottawa. There are lots of swans all over, so that is realistic to the layout, but I'm also throwing the flamingos in there because why not? And then I'm throwing some stars in there because I needed to use geometric shapes and I also needed to use stars. So lots of those little elements, and I actually like how all those little clusters came together. I think they're really cute. I fussed a little bit just over how to kind of balance them out properly, but I really like how they turned out. I ended up not using my large flamingo stamp, but I did use the stamp set. So I used all of the bingo elements that were in this layout. This one also was the pastels one and the cut file one, and two photos. Just lots of bingo squares were checked off with this particular layout. I also think I don't love the background paper. It doesn't quite match as well as I would hope it would. And so that is throwing me off a little bit, but I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to chalk this one up to a learning experience and just having fun with the creative process. And yeah, that is my layout. So I'm going to finish it off by outlining everything, just so everything pops instead of kind of blending backwards into the background. Everything's going to just have that nice black edge to it and really stand out. And that is my layout. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for subscribing and liking and commenting. I really, really appreciate it. Please go check out the links for everybody below from Build-A-Page and Tuesdays in the Attic. And that is it for me today. I'll see you again tomorrow. Happy scrapping. Bye.
Button, my channel.